Cast available for you guys today, as we have some really incredible people here in-house and a lot of crazy news to talk about, especially when it comes to the Trump campaign, when it comes to Trump being disqualified from the ballot in Maine, when it comes to now our friend also being put on a terror watch list. What in the world is going on here? Are we going into a situation that's going to be really bad for the American public? Yep. You could bet your bottom dollar. We're going to be discussing that, plus a lot more for the next 2 hours. And make sure to share this broadcast with your friends and family members, because this conversation is going to be very interesting. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to get into some deep down the hole rabbit holes. And to have this conversation, you could also participate in it by becoming a member of LukeUnfiltered.com. Anyone who signs up on LukeUnfiltered.com will actually have the ability to call in to the show in about an hour and a half from now. You get access to a special Telegram channel. With that Telegram channel, we, of course, will be talking to members of LukeUnfiltered.com. You get to call in. You get to ask whatever questions you want. And, of course, I will be messaging you guys very soon. Another way to participate is, of course, through Super Chats, and one of the best ways to do that is through mysuperchat.com. And you guys, of course, get to send us messages. We will be responding to all of them, especially if they are on mysuperchat.com. Any Rumble rants, any Super Chats on YouTube, of course, will be read as well. But mysuperchats.com actually only takes a 3% service charge, not a 30% YouTube service charge. So definitely check that out. And joining us for this conversation is someone that has gone viral all over social media, someone that's very interesting, someone that's very fascinating, and I'm very excited to have in studio here today, and that is Gary, the Numbers Guy. Gary, for the people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself?
I'm the best of the best at what I do, quite simply, and what I do is read the Matrix's language, which is another word for God's language, which is numerology. Men lie, we all know women lie, numbers never lie.
That's a great saying there. Clint definitely agrees with that woman part, right, Clint?
Very good. Getting me in trouble with the ladies already. Yeah, Clint Russell, host of Liberty Lockdown, co-host Tower Gang, and co-host of thebestpoliticalshow.com at Liberty Lockpod on X. 115,000 of you over there. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Steph.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steph of We Are Change. You can find me on Instagram at Steph We Are Change.
Steph, if you can, just let's move the camera over a little bit. We moved it previously beforehand, but let's just get right into it, as the news coming from Maine is absolutely crazy, as the Secretary of State there, a leftist, hyper-partisan individual, just decided to interfere in this year's presidential 2024 election on, let's just be honest here, behalf of the Democratic Party, of the leftist mind virus, and she made sure that Donald Trump is kicked off of the ballot based off her own interpretation of alleged insurrectionist acts, which, again, Donald Trump was never found guilty of in the first place. We're also learning that she used corporate media articles, YouTube clips in order to justify her decision here, as it's pretty clear, according to the poll numbers, Donald Trump is more popular than ever. A lot of people want him to become the next president of the United States, overwhelmingly over the current guy who's in there now. And we have individuals who are allegedly protecting democracy by subverting the will of the American people. What's really going on here? I think there's a bigger agenda to sow chaos and division. I think there's a bigger agenda because the Democrats know that they're losing. I think something's up here, and it's not just someone protecting democracy, but that might be too conspiratorial. What do you guys think?
I go way darker. I think that, you know, the evidence from the SCOTUS had to overturn the federal mandate. I'll leave it at that because we're still on YouTube. But the federal mandate from the Biden administration in, I think it was 22, and otherwise we would have had no bodily autonomy in this country. So the Supreme Court intervened on the behalf of the American people. You now have even more perilous threats to democracy, if you will. And all under the pretext of defending democracy. And as Luke already detailed, Trump, he said he wasn't convicted. As far as I know, he hasn't even been charged with insurrection. So this is such a leap. This is such a absolute circumvention of what our founders envisioned for this country. And I think that 2024 is going to be the gnarliest year we've ever encountered.
Let me just say this, and again, we're still on YouTube.
Exactly.
when I look at what's going on, when I go back to March or April, wasn't DeSantis ahead of Trump?
Yes, his poll
Okay.
numbers were very favorable since there was a poor kind of congressional race that led up to a situation where Donald Trump was still telling people to take rushed experimental gene therapy, and his poll numbers weren't that good. DeSantis's numbers were better.
So let's be honest with ourselves. So after he got indicted, after he had to go to court, after all that stuff happened, all of a sudden he became the top guy again. So I mean, maybe it's possible all this was done to prop him up. I'm just putting it out there. You have to understand that if in 2016, if James Comey doesn't reopen the email investigation to Hillary Clinton a couple days before the election, maybe Trump doesn't get that one, either. But what you have to understand is, I believe there's people out there who want Donald Trump in a position of power because it galvanizes their people. When you look at DeSantis, he might not have that many people supporting them, but he definitely doesn't have as many haters. So when you look at Donald Trump, maybe the Democrats actually want him to be the nominee because they can galvanize all the people against them. I don't want to go too far because, again, we're still on YouTube.
No, but that was the exact situation that unfolded as we found out through the Hillary Clinton emails, with her saying we need him to be, I forgot the exact phrase.
Nominee.
Not just a nominee, but this kind of Joker-like character. What was the exact phrasing there? Someone could probably tell me in the comment section, saying we essentially need him to be the nominee because if he becomes the nominee, we are definitely going to beat him.
Right.
And of course, Hillary Clinton was definitely wrong on that, thankfully, even though the race was very, very close. But when you do kind of look at this situation with Donald Trump, automatically my kind of conspiracy mind goes off. And what you just said is something that I actually been expressing for a couple of weeks now, saying, Donald Trump was down and out. His poll numbers were not good. He was just his base was really not happy with him, especially when it came to him pandering to big pharma. He came in out of nowhere, and now he's more popular than ever. And how can you not defend him against these huge, over-egregious, democratically biased politicians who are subverting the will of the people, who are breaking the Constitution, who are breaking the rule of law, and going out of their way to be as bad as they can to him? How can you not defend him in this situation?
But if this is happening, it's actually propping him up.
It is.
Like, how many people who are independents are going to be like, listen, I don't like Trump, but this is an American. This is not how it's supposed to go. So the independents are going to slide more to the Republican side because of this type of nonsense. And again, I want to use stronger words, but I won't.
Yes.
This is complete and utter garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we need
do you think they want him to win, though?
I think they 100% want him to win.
Oh, interesting.
I think they 100. If they didn't want him to win, there wouldn't have been indictments. If they didn't want him to win, they wouldn't have been doing all this stuff. It props him up. Let's go back to 216 for 1 second. Who told James Comey to reopen the email investigation? Because you know damn well James Comey didn't do that by himself.
Probably Obama.
Oh, there you go. Now, let's go down that rabbit hole. Why would Obama tell James Comey to open the email? Because they're both Democrats. Why would they do that?
I don't know.
Well, how about this? If Clinton won, then she owns the White House. She owns the deep state. She owns the DNC. But with Clinton losing, no one owns the White House anymore. Mm-hmm. But guess who owns the Democratic Party? Who got shipped out as soon as the Hillary Clinton lost? All her people in the Democratic Party got shipped off, and then Obama started filling the ranks. So when Trump took power, all of a sudden Obama, by the way, he didn't leave Washington, D.C. He's the only former president who still lives in D.C. I wonder what he's doing. He's probably up to no good.
Yeah, it's not like he said on national television that he wishes he would come back to a secret third term where he was able to make all the decisions without actually being the public face of those decisions. It's not like he said anything like that for everyone to, of course, listen to and hear to. And Little Mac 84 on YouTube has the comment here and the answer to the question that I was asking everyone. And that, of course, is a Pied Piper. Hillary Clinton's email showed that they wanted Trump to be the Pied Piper. They wanted him to be the lead front runner. They made him the lead front runner,
Yes.
and essentially he was able to defeat them. And there was a lot of drama between Hillary and Obama because
2008.
if you look at that original race, and if you look at the Bilderberg meeting specifically that was happening in Chantilly, Virginia, I was there with Alex Jones on the ground covering all of it. We did a 12-hour live stream documenting everything. There was a very strange coincidence where Obama and Clinton went missing for the exact same time.
Shocking.
Where they were supposed to be campaigning for the presidency, and then literally the press corps that was on Obama's jet was told he's going to be here, he's going to be on the jet. They closed up the jet. They flew the press corps out without Obama on there, and then Obama was missing for like 48 hours. And of course, the more likely scenario was that they were at Bilderberg, that they were making a lot of key decisions. And according to some kind of scuttlebutt that I personally heard, and some of the inside baseball that I heard from my sources, there was a larger decision to say, okay, this is going to be Obama's term. Then Hillary's going to get it afterwards, and then Hillary. Again, she had what was the Jacob Javits Center lined with celebratory balloons to represent the glass ceiling that they were going to be like. They were preparing for a full all-out victory. And when you see Podesta's face, when you see Hillary Clinton's campaign on the night of the election, they were shocked. They were surprised. Yeah. And according to some sources too, Donald Trump was shocked and surprised himself as well.
No, listen. I met Donald Trump in person for the first time October 27, 2016. I was VIP at his Cleveland events. That's where I moved from, Cleveland, Ohio. And when he was going around, signing autographs and everything, he actually spent like 30, 45 seconds with me. He didn't talk to anyone else. He talked to me. I know his personal assistants and everything. And I told him, Mr. President, you're going to be the next president. And he looked at me like he was shocked. And I told him because of numerology and astrology. If you guys don't know who I am, that's what I do. And he looked absolutely shocked, but worked out, didn't it?
Can you break down why you knew?
I can give you one example. In 2016, that's the year of the monkey, okay? And again, this is Chinese astrology. We're not, there's 12 different signs. One of them happens to be a monkey. And in monkey years, it's kind of known as the year of the comeback. So I'll give you an example. Do you guys remember, well, maybe you don't remember, but you guys heard of the Miracle on Ice in 1980? When the little high school Americans beat the Russians.
Yep.
That was considered the biggest upset in world history. That happened 1980, the year of the monkey. Do you guys remember when the Yankees blew a 3-0 lead against the Boston Red Sox in 2004? Again, that's another monkey year. And the Cleveland Cavaliers came back from 3-1 down to beat my boys, the Golden State Warriors. By the way, I predicted that one. And that was the biggest comeback in NBA history, and that was 2016. So every monkey year, you have big comebacks. So it kind of looked like, okay, Trump's going to pull the biggest political upset in, American history. And I went on Dr. Savage, Michael Savage's show, and I actually said it that day, that Donald Trump's going to win this thing. And I also said they would steal the election from him in 2020 because Obama didn't need him anymore.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people saying there's no way Trump could win. The poll numbers showed it. The New York Times and all the other corporate media outlets, 99% chance Hillary Clinton's going to be the next president of the United States. But there was a few online commentators, individuals like Mike Cernovich, that actually said, no, actually he's probably going to win. And it shocked and it surprised a lot of different
That was
individuals.
one of the best nights I remember because the liberal tears, because at first it was like, woo, we got this. All of a sudden, a little concern. All of a sudden after that, they're like this. And then you actually saw these people crying.
Yeah.
And when I saw those liberals crying, that put such a smile on my face. I'm like, you pieces of garbage. This is exactly what you deserve. But they took it away from us in 2020 under nefarious, in my opinion, but we won't go into it.
Yeah, I was in Times Square when the decision came in that he lost one of the key battleground states, when Hillary lost one of the key battleground states, and you could hear a pin drop in the middle of Times Square. There was about 5 Trump supporters in New York City watching them. I was standing next to them because they're like, hey, look, hey, I was like, hey, what's going on here? What are the results? And then we saw the numbers in Times Square just come on in. And then Hillary lost another key battleground state. And then you just saw people like silent, weeping, crying. These 5 guys were like, yay! and then everyone's just giving them like the dead stare, and it was such an extremely telling moment because it was a changing of the guard. It was something big happened, and a lot of people realized it, and you saw a lot of people cry.
I was at his inauguration, man. That was like one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
The biggest inauguration
Yes.
ever.
I was also there at January 6th. I was VIP at his last speech as president. And then, I heard all the rumors that, something's gathering. And, again, I'm going to try and make this clean as hell. I saw a whole bunch of people with flags. Nothing else but flags trying to do something. And at that point, I'm like, man, this is set up. This is 100. I called my people. I'm like, yo, don't do this. Get out of here. I went straight to lunch with Trump's personal assistant and a couple of my students in GG33. We went straight to lunch. We're watching this. And unfortunately, some of my guys got caught up. Unfortunately, they did.
I have a lot of follow-up questions, but we'll save that for a Rumble segment. But I did want to steelman the counter argument to Trump being put up. I mean, it's clear everything you guys have said is true. He was put up. He was a Pied Piper, but they put him up because they thought he was easily beatable. Hillary wouldn't have put him up if she thought that he was actually going to win. That's my opinion. And to prove that case, I was on the last episode of Union of the Unwanted with Sam Tripoli and all these people, and I was the only one taking this side of the argument. So I'm accustomed to being the odd man out on this topic. But when you look at the Steele dossier that's created before he's even president, if you look at the false affidavits from the FBI that are allowing for his campaign to be spied on, an American presidential candidate being spied on by the FBI based off of concocted information prior to the election, those two issues paired with the fact that he was impeached twice, he was undermined every step of the way, it tells me that while he was their preferred competitor, he was not actually supposed to win, as you say he's supposed to win in 24.
There's a difference between Team Obama and Team Clinton, though.
Agreed.
So let's state facts. When Trump was running against in 2015, when it started against the Republican primary, with 17 other Republicans, much stronger field than it is this year, by the way. They called Ted Cruz was there, Marco Rubio was there, little Marco,
Rand Paul.
Yeah, Rand Paul. This is the biggest Republican group ever. Obama only mentioned one person by name, Donald Trump. He didn't mention Rubio. He didn't mention Ted Cruz. And let me tell you something. If you're Obama and half the world, half the Americans hate your guts, and you start talking, junk about Trump, well, guess what? Your haters are going straight to him. People on Twitter, if you guys don't understand how this works, watch this. If you have a big account, if you're a big person on Twitter and you have haters, start subtweeting someone, start doing something, and then your haters will go straight to him. That's how this works. So yes, you could say Clinton thought that,
right?
But Clinton didn't think that James Comey was going to reopen that email investigation either. Obama runs this shop. Obama.
So it was undermined by the Obama.
100%. Because when he still owns the deep state, that's why he's still all over Washington, D.C. Yeah. So here's the point. When he was actually running the deep state, he was kneecapping Trump every single time. Impeachment after impeachment. He was kneecapping his presidency. And he basically took the gamble that it's better for me to deal with Trump than for me to have Clinton in power, because if Clinton's in power, Obama has no power.
Yeah, and if you look at the Biden administration, it essentially is a continuation of the Obama administration in almost every sense of the way.
Until April 24th of this year. I personally believe that Biden was Obama's puppet until that day.
Why?
And Susan Rice left the Biden administration on the 24th of April. Okay. And that was his handler.
Yeah,
so surrogate. Susan Rice was going from Obama's mansion every single day, going to the White House. And Secret Service people have told me this. Now, the White House visitor logs, curiously enough, are sealed now. They were open under every other president, including Obama, but they're sealed now. I wonder why. Maybe they didn't want people to explain why Susan Rice is going to the White House every single day. So she was over there giving him his marching orders. And then I believe Obama, he had dinner with the Bidens at least once a week at the White House. And he basically told Biden, you got to step down. And Biden said no. And at that point, when he said no, Susan Rice is out. And then you start seeing people go after Hunter. Then you start seeing all this stuff start going out. So obviously they broke ranks. Who did Biden run to? Only one person to run to, the Clintons. And now you see the Clintons really backing Joe Biden when they didn't do this stuff in 2020. They didn't do this. Now they're completely backing him because I believe Kamala Harris, that's the Clintons' person in the White House. That's what I believe. So he went to her, and basically you start seeing a lot of bad press about Obama coming out about 2 months ago he's gay and all that. I don't know anything about that, but that's what the press came out. The Clintons still have a lot of power in the press. Even though Obama owns the Justice Department, Obama owns the Treasury, Obama owns the deep state, well, the Clintons still have that.
What's the play? Is Hillary trying to get in the mix?
I think that her play is to basically have Joe Biden reelected. I think that's her play,
and
then
use him as their puppet,
pretty much,
okay.
Because he had to switch that. Because you have to understand, if you're going to have a puppet president, you want him to be weak.
Yeah.
You want a puppet president to be weak.
Yeah.
And you can't get any weaker unless you want to dig up Jimmy Carter. You can't get any weaker than this piece of garbage in the White House right now.
Yeah, this is why I think John Fetterman might actually be a serious contender for the presidency. And I'm not joking.
For a Democrat, 100%.
I literally made BidenFetterman.com. I made T-shirts for it. I made a campaign for it. It's real. BidenFetterman.com if you haven't checked it out. But what you say does kind of add up because there is kind of a Democratic kind of civil war that we do see kind of underway here, and it does explain a lot of the more perplexing kind of corporate media attacks that are happening on Joe Biden.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of very prominent Democratic establishment figures saying, okay, Joe, come on, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yep.
Here's Hunter Biden. Hey, we're going to punish your child. Hey, we're going to make sure he goes to jail.
Yep.
And then when you look at this kind of scenario and the way it's unfolding, it does seem like it's a power play within a power play, and that's usually how things are done, especially within the Bilderberg group, especially within upper echelons of secret societies. It's usually power struggles internally, not just externally. It's not just an organized group going after everyone, even though they do understand the rules of the game, even though they make sure that the game is never compromised. But within that game, there's games and other games being played.
This is the way I look at it. I look at the Clintons, Obamas. I look at the Obamas as Rothschild, and I look at the Clintons as Rockefeller. That's what I look at. And you have to understand, all of these 13 Illuminati bloodline families, they're pretty much gangsters, okay? And they have no love for each other. But if anyone threatens them as a whole, they come together like this.
Yeah.
That's what people have to understand, man. You know, they're like a family who hates each other, but if anyone threatens, what they have, they're going to come together very quickly.
It's like the mafia kind of coming together, and that's essentially how it's run, but also on bigger levels. So everyone always points to the Italian mafia, but the Italian mafia was sacrificed. It's nothing compared to the real mafias out there.
Listen, I don't want to say much. I know people who just ran up on Kanye West and forced him to make an apology. That's the real mafia.
Okay.
I'm not saying nothing.
I didn't say anything.
Rumble.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say a word.
We have a super chat by. We're gonna continue that conversation on Rumble.
I think that was clean though.
Yeah, that was clean. You handled it.
And, we have a super chat by Juan Castal saying, "Will the Supreme Court step in on these states?" Well, it's going to be interesting because it's going to be like whack-a-mole, and what just happened in Colorado, I think, is indicative of what is going to be happening. But I think there's going to be other states that are also going to be pulling out the rug last minute, and these legal challenges might not come in time to the point where Donald Trump could be affected, could not be on the ballot, could be, of course, kicked out of the primaries, and then there could be a lot of...
Can't they write him in? Can't they write him in?
I believe they can, and the Republican GOP in Colorado said that they'll move towards a system where he could still be included in the ballot, even though that the Supreme Court kind of kicked him out. But that ruling was just overturned as well. Will this ruling in Maine be overturned? I don't know. But when we look more at the person that called this shot, you could see someone who is very biased. It is Democrat Sheena Bellows, and she's the one essentially that unilaterally made this decision. And there's photos of her hanging out with Joe Biden, hanging out
Oh,
with, of course, hanging out, of course, with Obama, and of course, cheerleading of a lot of the kind of far leftist policies that have led us towards a situation where literally these people think that they're protecting democracy. And in reality, they're doing the opposite of that. We actually have a sound clip from this woman as well, describing some of her philosophies that we're going to play now.
The right to vote is fundamental to everything else that we care about. Our democracy depends on every American citizen being able to participate and exercise the right to vote, to hold those in power accountable for decisions that are made, and to make sure that our government is representing the will of the people.
Yeah, Sheena, you're not doing that by taking off Donald Trump from the ballot, as of course a lot of people are also pointing to her wearing a democracy defender T-shirt, which is crazy. Exactly,
everything's backwards. Yeah. It's like, you know, they're gonna say they're gonna do something noble, and it's a dark act. Everything is opposite with these people.
And everything they're doing, they accuse their opposition of. James Lindsay calls it the iron law of projection. It drives me crazy.
It's 1984. Everything is absolutely backwards. War is peace. Yep. It's absolute newspeak. And this is how they kind of bring in and sew in a lot of this chaos with this confusion. Because if they're able to confuse a lot of people, they're able to say, I'm defending democracy by destroying your ability to vote for who you want. People are like, wait, what? And in that kind of confusion, they are able to swoop in and gain more power and control for themselves.
Well, what they mean by, we want everyone to be able to vote. We want everyone to be able to vote, but only for one person.
Exactly.
And that's really the game. It's not, when they talk, they'll even say our democracy. But when they say our, they don't mean us in this room. They mean their people. And I think that their people is also increasing exponentially, as you've seen with the migration crisis in Europe that's now hit domestically, and it just seems like it's totally out of control at this point.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys where you see this going, because the road we're on, the train, the locomotive that has been started, there's no going back from. No. And the political pendulum that is kind of swinging back and forth violently is affecting more and more people, to the point where people on the left and right are absolutely radicalized. I believe that a lot of this is being done on purpose. I believe there's a lot of chaos. I believe there's a lot of division. I believe a lot of this is done deliberately in order to destroy the American people, in order to destroy this country. But there are a lot of interesting people making a stand here, as of course even prominent Democrats in Colorado were like, hey, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely insane. CNN, just a couple hours ago, released this statement on national television in response to this, essentially heavily criticizing this decision by the Secretary of State of Maine.
Were the processes, were these hearings fair? Did they comport with due process? And I think there's a question there with regard to what Maine did, because if you look at the hearing, and she details this in the ruling, they heard from one fact witness, a law professor. She based her ruling on a lot of documents, but also YouTube clips, news reports, things that would never pass the bar in normal court. She's not a lawyer, by the way. It's a smartly written decision, clearly consulted with lawyers, but this is an unelected. She's chosen by the state legislature.
She's elected by the state legislature.
Chosen, elected by the legislature, but not democratically elected. Not a knock. That's just the way it's set up in Maine. And this hearing, look, it doesn't have to be a criminal trial. We don't have to have all the protections. But I think the argument you'll hear from opponents is, one, not up to the states to do this. This is why we have all different decisions from all different states. And two, the procedures were not up to snuff.
CNN's like, but please, there has to be some kind of justification. And then they were just blown out of the water with this legal expert saying, no, they're using YouTube clips in order to justify taking off the lead political opposition member from the ballot, which is absolutely crazy. How is this going to be unfolding from here? Because I see more states doing this. I see more legal challenges. I see this happening up until the point where the ballots are supposed to be cast and a state says, well, you know what? No, you just can't vote for this guy and he's ineligible because we decided so. How is this going to get fixed? How is this going to get corrected? People are saying, oh, it's just going to be corrected automatically. Don't worry about it. I am worried about it.
Let me ask you something. Is Trump has a shot to win Maine anyway?
No.
Okay. I mean,
Well, according to some legal analysts, if RFK Jr. does run, it is going to split the state up, and there is a possibility that he could maybe potentially win.
I mean, I guess I could make a 3-pointer in NBA too. It's possible, but it's not likely. Listen, this is what I'm trying to tell you, man. I don't think Colorado goes Republican too often. I could be mistaken. Maybe it did in the past,
it used to, but not
anymore. All those people from California migrating, all the people from California trying to escape the hell they voted for, and now they're trying to.
They gotta go recreate.
Of course, somewhere else. So honestly, maybe I'm in the minority. I don't think this is a big loss. He's not going to win those places. Let him take off the California. Take him off the ballot too. New York City.
But it's the Republican primary that does matter, because when he goes up against Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, if people only get to vote Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and not Donald Trump,
no one's voting for Nikki Haley. Come on.
Well, the BlackRock is, State Street is, and all the other corporations support it, and the military-industrial complex.
They're funding. They're funding. They're not actually.
Hey, Moloch is going to be voting for Hillary. Okay.
The media absolutely prefers Nikki Haley, which just goes to show once again that they're in league with the devil. But the point I wanted to make was that Kaneko the Great actually reported this about an hour ago, that there's a video floating around of her talking about the ACLU and the SPLC working in tandem with her to assist. So as I forget which of you said it, but it's clear that I think it was Luke that said that it's clear that she was working with attorneys in terms of drafting her explanation, because she is not an attorney herself. That's the answer. ACLU, SPLC working in tandem. You know that they're getting their marching orders from some other power broker. Could be the Obamas, who knows? But this is a high-level operation to remove Trump, and I think it's much more serious. Even though these are in blue states, that's not really what it's about. It's about having a precedent which allows for a rogue, Secretary of State within one of these swing states or two of these swing states.
A fat bureaucratic nanny coming in and saying no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The precedent is very important here, because let's think about the precedent it sets for Joe Biden. Because let's say he's out of office, what's going to stop people from going after him? See, that's the real precedent that these people got to start working out. You went after our guy. Oh, we're going to start going after you, and now we start devolving into a banana republic.
Exactly, and it's a tit for tat, and everyone escalates and keeps escalating from here, because they believe if the next guy gets in, they're going to put me in jail. And the Democrats open up this door by putting a lot of Republicans and Donald Trump supporters in jail.
I'm going to say this. I believe that Joe Biden's a criminal. I believe he's running a criminal enterprise, but I would not put him in jail, because the damage of putting a U.S. president in jail would be so unprecedented that no one would believe in the system anymore. I mean, listen, I remember.
Should you believe in a system that allows for a criminal enterprise to be running the country?
Listen,
because I think you should know.
Okay, so I'll put it like this. I believe America is the best country in the world.
Love America.
Do we agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if America is the best country in the world, we have to accept that it's going to have flaws. But if you compare this to every other country in the world, I mean, Russia is basically a mob dictatorship. Then you go over there, these other countries, they're basically loony leftists. I'm going to tell you, I will put up with the faults in this country, knowing this has always been a criminal enterprise.
Yeah.
Okay, this has never stopped. The military-industrial, Eisenhower told us about that. He said, watch the military-industrial complex. I believe the last real president in U.S. history was John F. Kennedy. And guess what? If I was living back in the 60s, I'd be a Kennedy Democrat. Mm-hmm. I would definitely be. That's how much the pendulum has swung this way, that a guy like Elon Musk, who was a liberal, and by every stretch of the imagination, they wanted basic income, all that stuff. He's a liberal, but the pendulum swung so far this way, now he looks like a somewhat conservative. So what people have to understand is when people get older, they get wiser. And most people, I mean, there's a slim majority, but most people, when they're liberal, when they're young, they get more conservative as they get older. Just people get wiser with age. That's why these caravans coming from Latin America are so important for the Democrats, because a lot of people who voted for Obama when they were kids in 2008 and 2012, now they're all Trump. Because they grew up. But the Democrats have to replace those voters.
Right.
And that's why these caravans keep coming in,
exactly.
and because they need a new voter base. They're going to sell. They only care about Black Lives Matter or anything like that once every election year. When are the people in the African American community going to wake up and understand these people only care about you once every 4 years? They don't give a damn. Same thing about women. You think these people care about you? They care nothing about you. They want your vote, and that's why people say, "Well, presidents are selected." Yeah, okay, sure. But if voting didn't matter, why are they going through all this trouble? If voting didn't matter, why are they going through us? This is what I believe. I believe if Trump wins a landslide, even if they try to cheat, they can't take it away from him. Mm-hmm. But if it's close, anything's possible.
Absolutely. And it's not just that they don't care about them. It's also specifically that I believe they hate them. Because if you look at every single policy that they kind of implement for, whether it's BLM or for women, it is policies that absolutely screw them over in so many backwards, underhanded ways that it's pretty obvious for the people paying attention. A lot of people don't pay attention. A lot of people have their hand in the sand. But when you're paying attention, every single action, every single move, all these, even all these equity, diversity efforts, all of it, of what it's doing is essentially placating, making people lazy, hurting them in the long run in such a way where they have to be dependent on the state, that they become fat, they become stupid. Every single thing that the Democratic Party and also the establishment and the Republicans that also play along with it and pretend to be against
rhinos.
Exactly. Everything that they do adds up towards a kind of dehumanist depopulation agenda that is hurting people in so many different ways. And I think they wrap us up in this kind of elections do matter, voting does matter, but I think what really matters is individuals taking their lives into their own hands and understanding that a lot of what we're seeing in American politics is just a game. And that game includes us being the pawns, us being played up against each other, and the second we understand that it's all a game, it loses a lot of its power and influence on all of us.
Of course, and I'll double down on what he said. He said there hasn't been an American president since JFK. I don't think there's been an American president since Teddy Roosevelt. Because Woodrow Wilson comes in.
I'm going to say Thomas Jefferson, just to outdo all of you guys.
Yeah, keep going. But yeah, because Woodrow Wilson basically sold off our country and our future and our entire system by the creation of the Federal Reserve. And I think ever since then, you've basically seen power brokers that don't have allegiance to the American people or to our country. And yeah, when you guys talk about these voting blocks, you're seeing black women in Chicago that are going to city council meetings and saying, how dare you allow for all this cheap labor to come in from Latin America, and it's destroying our communities. I mean, these people are waking up. It's just like at the end of the day, when it gets to the ballot box, I still think they're going to all hit D.
They ain't waking up fast enough, brother.
No.
They ain't waking up fast enough.
Not.
And let's not forget, listen, in the 1960s, when they started breaking up the family with feminism, now we see the results of this. It's not just women who are voting mainly for Democrats. You have a lot of men who are raised by single mothers who are voting for Democrats too.
Specifically low T men, as there's a biological war against them and they want more government and want to be dependent on government, just like that guy in the beginning of this video in the United Kingdom complaining about sharp objects.
I mean, what is the future for the UK? Like,
the future? There is no future.
I mean, cars.
It's a failed state, man. The UK is a failed state. Listen, if you think America's bad, go to the UK for a couple of days. You'll run back and think this is paradise. Yeah. They literally have a police state going. I feel safer in Russia than I would the UK. I'm going to make that clear again. Safer in Russia. They don't have cameras everywhere like they do in UK. Yeah. You can't do anything. And again, when you look at what's going on in the UK, they banned all guns. There's no guns there. No one has a gun. Guess what? These people are just stabbing each other. Bro. So you take away the guns, they start stabbing. What are you going to do? Start banning knives now? That's what they're trying to do, right?
And then hammers, and then cars, and then any kind of basic freedom and liberty, as of course the nanny state needs to protect you at all costs. I was in the United Kingdom a few times in my life, and every single time there's always this kind of dark, demonic kind of low vibrational energy of everywhere you're going, you're being watched. Everywhere you're going, you're being tracked, to the point where local police literally bust down your door. You don't have the First Amendment in that country because you accidentally misgendered someone, because you actually represented an idea that the state didn't like. I met someone, I was just interviewing random people on the street. I met a guy that was literally thrown in jail and to court because he accidentally misgendered someone. That's the type of life that they want you living. And to bring this back to the conversation, specifically to talk about immigration more, because there's a lot to talk about here domestically inside of the United States. I traveled almost the entire world. And I agree with you. There's no better place than the United States, especially when it comes to the First Amendment. The Second Amendment is flawed in many different ways, but when it comes to life, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to personal liberties and freedoms, there's no other place like it. And I think this is why the ideas of America are under attack. And I think one of the biggest attack vectors right now is through immigration, as of course we have this New York Post article that is detailing how the Biden administration is now threatening lawsuits against Texas if they dare to arrest or deport migrants. Yes, Joe Biden, the Biden administration is threatening legal action against Texas for trying to enforce their own borders. This is, in my opinion, a criminal action. There is a population replacement agenda. It is happening right in front of us. Elon Musk just tweeted this a couple of moments ago, saying, to give you a sense of immense and growing size of illegal immigration, highlighting a chart of American births versus illegal immigrants. And guess what? There's more people coming into this country illegally than Americans being born, and those are the official numbers. The unofficial numbers, probably way more higher than what we could expect them to be, as of course this larger population replacement program is real. It's here. It's happening. And we have a super chat that's actually about this too. We have one from Crash Bandit who says, a little off topic, well, not now. Quote, have you guys read the UN migration in the 2030 agenda? Like Jones said, they put what they are doing in their own papers. Yes, a lot of this has been detailed in documents, in UN official dossiers, specifically detailing, yes, get more people, replace the local population, import the third world, and essentially destroy America from inside.
1962 Immigration Act, my friend.
Exactly.
It's been moving on. They've had this agenda since the 60s. And what people have to understand is this is not a 10 years, 20 years. This is generational. The people at the very top, they have a game plan and they wait for decades. The person who started it might not even be alive when it's fulfilled. That's how these people play. They always play the long game.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the CCP is known for, is having 100-year or millennia-long plans.
2049, brother.
Yeah, but I actually wanted to go back to a different part about the UK real quick, because I had Lord Miles on Tower Gang, and Lord Miles is this wild dude who went to Afghanistan, ended up getting kidnapped by the Taliban.
I was supposed to go with him on a trip.
I'm glad you did,
and I luckily didn't. I didn't get kidnapped like he did.
But he spent months.
Well,
with
he got kidnapped.
He got kidnapped in Afghanistan by the Taliban.
4 months.
This is Lord Miles. He does a lot of really like crazy stuff. He does a lot of like hazard travel vlogging.
He went there after the U.S. Left?
He went there, I believe, during the fall of Afghanistan.
Yes.
And it literally
when we were leaving, he was like, I gotta go. He also wanted to go to Ukraine. But anyways, real quick. So this is what's so wild about it. I have him on Tower Gang. I say, hey man, I'm so glad you survived. And he's like, bro, the Taliban's great. I was thinking I was gonna die when I was in London. he's like London is worse than being kidnapped by the Taliban, and he didn't seem like he was kidding, which is just so wild to me. But yeah, so I think.
And by the way, to add to this point with immigration, he was just denied his visa to the United States, so he's not allowed to come into the United States. He's not allowed to come here and do podcasts and do shows. But if you walk through the southern border, I told him, like, dude, you should probably go through the southern border, document it all.
You know he's going to do it.
But
I've already told him he's got to do this show. He's gonna be in here eventually. But I just think that's
pay a smuggler to get him in.
Yeah, you don't even need to. It's like just walk. But yeah, I think that's our future. I really do. I think that what we're seeing in the UK in terms of speech suppression and censorship and spying apparatus, all this stuff, it is all a testing ground as well as Canada, which is now floating.
That's not even a country.
UBI, anymore. I know it's not really a country.
We support the invasion of Canada here on this channel.
I've been saying for 10 years it's time to annex Toronto and Vancouver. Those are way too big to be Canadian cities.
Exactly.
They can keep Alberta, but we need to take the big stuff. Hey, Montreal, I'm coming for your liberation too.
we can't have an NBA team in
Vancouver.
Canada.
Vancouver's a crap hole though. I don't want Vancouver.
It's a big enough city.
It's a Chinese city filled with a bunch of crackheads all over the place.
You gotta get the CPB out of there. It's not much worse than Seattle, bro.
I want
it's not much worse than Seattle.
I want Manitoba. I want Montreal Toronto, the people are weird, but Montreal, the people are cool. I like the people in Montreal, but that's just my personal preference. Since we're totally a non-interventionist channel, except for Canada, that's
right.
asking for it. Sorry, go ahead. I sidetracked.
No,
here.
I was just going to say, Canada and California are really the testing grounds. You see UBI, reparations, all this stuff, the climate lockdown stuff, carbon emissions, all that. It is all a testing ground that they're trying to roll out across the broader United States, and this is why I've been so concerned about Gavin Newsom, is that he is their guy. I don't know which camp, if it's the Obama Clinton camp, but he is
Obama.
Okay. He is their guy. So I think that's the likely replacement. This is why I disagree that they want to see Trump win, even though you're absolutely right that he galvanizes the opposition and he absolutely puts money in the coffers of the media establishment, which is dying as we speak. So there are benefits, and I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong. I'm just saying I think that they want Gavin.
I still think it's going to be Michelle Obama, whatever you want to call Big whatever, and
Big Mike.
You can say that here. Okay, Big Mike, and we're on YouTube. I'm trying to be very, very clean here. I think it's going to be Big Mike and Gavin Newsom on the Democratic ticket.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I think that's a fair
Michael
prediction.
Malice believes it's going to be Hillary. He recently came out and said that Hillary might get in there, might replace that.
Obama would never allow that.
Yeah.
And I still believe Obama is the main power player within American politics. I mean, you obviously got the Rothschilds and everything else, but he's the main guy over here. I mean, listen, the stuff that Obama has pulled off, this is a guy who likes the spotlight. This is a guy who wants to be on camera. When Bill Clinton left the White House, he was talking about doing a TV show. Obama, think about this guy. He loves the spotlight, and he disappeared for 4 years. He was quiet. He didn't say anything. Do you understand what type of discipline that takes?
Yeah.
He wanted to be at the spotlight. So right now, instead of being the guy who's being puppeteered, he's the puppeteer.
Well, and he's also, even though he's out of the spotlight, he is producing stuff on Netflix like Leave the World Behind, which is talking about a potential civil war coming up. So, and I know, for the Tim Pool audience that's watching, get your shot glasses out because we're going to drink a lot. Luke was asking where
Someone just posted that Tim must be going crazy that the Civil War is trending and he's on vacation. And I just was like kind of left the snickering emoji in response.
It's the
to that.
1 week a year he takes off, and it's like it's
he
popping.
never takes vacations. He's literally like one of the most hardworking people I'm ever around.
Well-deserved vacation.
Absolutely. No, I keep telling him. I've been telling him for years, like, dude, you got to take a break. You got to relax. You got to take care of yourself. He's finally doing it now. And then like the craziest news stories
listen,
broke.
Tigers like to go hard. Whether it be you, Andrew Tate, or Tim, they like to go hard. And quite frankly, they are not cowards.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of people out here are cowards. I'm not a big fan of Tate's, but at least I know they're not cowards.
Yeah. Well, then we need all the 1986 people to rise up. Please.
Yeah, because these kids born in 2000, whoo, we got a different breed here. Let me explain something to you. In numerology, 1 is male energy. 2 is female energy. So what happened is everyone in the 1900s who's born here, you have a 1 in your birthday. So you have some male energy. The kids born in 2000, and they don't got no ones. They got 2. So one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen in my life is dragons. Dragons are usually the tough guys. They're just people who are really, really honorable and tough. And we go from people like Steven Seagal, who's a 64 dragon, and now we have people like 2008 in Ross. I'm like, whew. That's such a drop off, guys. But here's what I'm trying to tell you: these kids who are growing up now. And by the way, I'm not crazy enough. I know every generation thinks the generation after them is lazy and garbage. I get all that, but
they're
this
usually
is real.
right.
This is real though, because the men and the women now have 2 energy. That is beta energy. That's why B is the second letter, and you have beta and bitch. So all of that stuff kind of works out. Obama's voting base.
His name's Barack for a reason.
There you go, brother.
Barack Obama.
We have some super chats here. One from Based Joe saying, just remember the sale of Twitter came after the midterms. X will play a huge role this time around if it stays free of 3-letter government STDs.
True.
We have another one from the redheaded libertarian saying the government has the responsibility to protect the states from invasion. Art 4, Section 4. However, if the government fails to do so, the responsibility fails to the states and individuals under 10A.
Yep, she's absolutely right. And this is what's so infuriating is that once again you have the federal government that's intervening in state business. This is Texas's absolute right to defend their territorial integrity. Whatever you believe about immigration policy broadly, Texas under 10th Amendment has an absolute right to defend itself. So I think this is totally wrong. I think that the courts ought to rule against the feds and in favor of Texas. But what's interesting is that there is a Texas nationalist movement, which is a secessionary movement, and the GOP of Texas is actually kicking their ballot initiative off of the upcoming election, where they wanted to actually have a referendum from the people of Texas to decide if they want to peacefully secede. Wild times happening.
Austin ain't never going to go for that. Austin's probably one of the most liberal cities in America, even though it's in Texas. Those California people keep moving over there, and it's going to go from blue to, purple to, how this works. I personally think right here is utopia.
Yes, absolutely.
And Miami is utopia. Florida is utopia because people down here mind their own business. People, like a lot of fake people, clout chasers, cool, we get all that. But at least people here mind their own business. If you go to anyone else, people are like, well, how'd you get that? How do you have that McLaren? How do you have that Lambo? Oh, you must have stole it from somebody. That's the mindset these people have, because these people are losers. and when losers basically look at stuff and they're like, well, wait a second, I can't do that, which means, they need to cope. They need to cope within their minds. And they can't say, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing what I have to. Oh, they stole it. That's it. That's how these people think.
Yeah, you see so many nice cars. If you were to ask everybody how they got them, that's all you'd spend your time doing.
I'm in a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or something at least a couple times, So it really doesn't matter. But let me say this about the minorities who are listening to this or who are going to be watching these clips. In America, you basically have 1.6, 1.7 million black millionaires. I want to repeat that. 1.6, 1.8 black millionaires in America. If you go outside of America, there's less than 10,000 black millionaires in the world. I'm going to ask you guys again. How can you say this is a white supremacist nation if this is the only place in the world where black people actually have money? Yes, there's a couple billionaires in Africa. You'll have a couple over here. But here, you actually have a strong black middle class. As a matter of fact, the black middle class in America has more GDP than Canada.
Wow.
Facts. Or if it's not, it's right around there. So people really need to start challenging what these people are telling you, because I got to tell you, all the immigrants who come to this country, and there's a lot of Cubans here, they hate communism. All of them have nothing but bad things to say about Fidel Castro. Every single one of them. I have never met an immigrant who came to America and said, yo, go Biden, go socialist, go communist. Not one time.
Right.
Because it's only the white people who've been raised in this country to be yuppies and stuff like that, who believe everything, they're entitled to everything, who actually believe in communism.
Yeah.
Black beliefs in socialism.
We'll definitely discuss more race and statistics on Rumble.
I'm trying, man.
We're totally fine.
Real quick.
The point you bring up is absolutely correct here. I travel the world. The world is racist as hell.
Yes.
And I'll get into it on Rumble with some of the experiences that I have. But trust me, here the United States represents something completely different. Miami, I love this place because I also came from communism. I was born into communism.
Poland.
I resonate with all these Cubans here who are like, screw the commies. We hate the commies. And I'm like, these are my people. I really love it here. I love the vibe. I love the First Amendment. I love the Second Amendment. I love the low tax rate comparatively anywhere. and truly one of the best places in the world. We're full though, so if
don't come down here anymore.
Don't come down.
It's a great place, but don't you dare come here. No, I'm the same way. I'm a refugee from communism. I came from California after 35 years, so I get it. But no, it's true though. I mean, like Luke, the Eastern Europeans, the Russians, all the former USSR bloc, like all the people that migrate here, which by the way, massive Russian population in this area, but then also the Cubans. It's like this is the refugee against communism camp. Like that's what Southern Florida is.
Sunny Isles is the Russian mob capital of America.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I mean,
Flat out, guys.
You will walk around and you will hear more people speaking Russian than English. It's amazing.
we got another super chat from Tim Crespi saying, if you want to discredit numerology, use Stag Gall. I have no idea what Stag Wall
No,
is.
I mean, when you can tell me why 6 of the richest 23 men in the world are born on the 28th, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Carlos Salim, then we can start having a discussion. I don't care about that nonsense.
We got another one by I See No Evil saying, Luke, can you react to a YouTube video called Eyes for Sale by AZ? It's up your alley. Every young person acts like they are owned everything. I haven't seen that video, but I'll definitely check it out in the meantime. As of course, we are now finally reaching a moment where we get to have actual free speech, and we are going to be leaving the technocratic gulag that is YouTube, and finally opening up on some real
This
conversation.
PJ13 version of me is. Oof.
I know, me too. I don't like it either. But this is the kind of
Yes.
philosophy that a lot of people kind of implement. And I saw Tim implement this, and it makes sense. If you want to
Yes.
reach the normies, the Kyles and Karens, you kind of got to water down your message, because if you really kind of hammer down the larger kind of occult, the larger kind of deeper down the rabbit hole truth knowledge, you're going to freak a lot of people out, and they're going to be automatically saying, no, this is crazy, this is utterly insane. You water the message down a little bit, which we are here with full transparency and full honesty here. You're able to kind of reel them in there and slowly bring them on this little journey of truth. And then once we go to Rumble, we beat them over the head with some really crazy stuff that they won't hear anywhere else in the world. So Rumble's where it's at.
We're drinking some 5-proof vodka right now on YouTube.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some ghetto-ass crap. Some nasty.
We're going straight moonshine on Rumble, folks. 100 proof. Let's go. Let's go.
So we're going to be moving over to Rumble. If you want to find us on Rumble, let's see where we are on the main page. Our main site is rumble.com/wearechange, rumble.com/wearechange, as we have a big crowd there. Now, let's get more people. You're on YouTube. Vote with your attention. Vote with your clicks. It matters more than ever. We're going to be ending this broadcast here, going over to Rumble, being a part of the conversation by also signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com means a lot to us. And, of course, we look forward to your calls. We look forward to you guys getting involved that way. Gary, before we move over to Rumble, where can people find you for the YouTube audience out there before we leave?
YouTube audience is GG33 Academy. Don't follow the fakes. A lot of people pretending to be me. It's got about 160,000 followers. On Twitter, find GG33. On IG, it's Matrix Prime _. And I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot, but that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Anywhere you can find me, just put in GG33. It's a big hashtag.
Yeah, you can find my show, Liberty Lockdown. Search it on RSS. It's on YouTube, Rumble, Liberty Lockdown. Clint Russell's the name. And while you're at it, just a quick reminder, the best political show, if you have a podcatcher, search that name, the best political show. It'll come up. Subscribe. Check our show out. Steph.
Everybody can find me at Steph We Are Change or Steph WRC on Twitter.
We got another Rumble rant by Bob8008 saying, LFG, let's do this. Really appreciate you guys being here on YouTube again. YouTube is where we invested a lot of our time and energy into for a very long time. We were one of the first ever YouTube channels to be demonetized proudly, and YouTube is, of course, putting the squeeze on a lot of independent media content creators. YouTube is unleashing them, allowing them to speak honestly and freely. That is something worth considering. That is something worth a click. Do it right now, rumble.com/wearechange, and I will see you over there with some really fascinating conversations about war, numerology. We're going to get into all of it, plus a lot more. See you over there, as of course the transition is just going to be very natural. There's still so many different things that I want to talk about. There was Vivek's response to the main decision. There was DeSantis's response to the main decision. There's also our friend Taylor Hansen, who of course just found out that he's also being investigated and followed around by federal agents everywhere he goes. Yes, that's an actual real thing that is freaking happening here. But to start this conversation, since we now have a totally free, unleashed Gary, I want to get into a separate topic, and that is war, because a lot of people say, numerology is something that you shouldn't take seriously. Some people say you should take it seriously. But when you look at the elites, when you look at specifically the military-industrial complex, the U.S. Pentagon, they take numerology very seriously. And if you look at a lot of the times when they start wars, they do start them on very significant dates.
100%.
And this is why I think it's worth looking into, because even though you might not believe in numerology, a lot of the very powerful people in our society that are starting the wars, calling the shots, running the media, do believe in it. And this is why a lot of corporate symbols have a lot of numbers within them. This is why there's also power ley lines. There's a lot of things that we could go deep down the rabbit hole, but I specifically wanted to talk about war, since, of course, there's sociopathic, crazy individuals out there like Lindsey Graham who believe that there's a holy war coming, who probably also believes in a lot of the numerology occult stuff, who just recently said this on national television, which I think is worth paying attention to.
I've been saying for 6 months now, hit Iran. They have oil fields out in the open. They have the Revolutionary Guard headquarters you can see from space. Blow it off the map.
Yeah, sociopathic, crazy individual calling for more war. Gary, what do you think of this situation? And did you have anything to kind of extrapolate on my kind of limited understanding of numerology and the starting of wars and conflicts and battles and bloodletting, essentially?
Let's talk about an event that pretty much everyone in the world knows. This is my go-to to basically show people that this is real. 9/11. I think that's pretty much the biggest day in American history, at least this century. And if you look at everything that happened around 9/11, you have a certain number that's always there. First of all, it happened on the 11th. What's the police code for emergency? 9/11. I mean, that right there tells you there's no coincidence. But if that was just one thing, wouldn't mean anything. But let's go keep going down the rabbit hole. New York City, 11 letters. Afghanistan, 11 letters. The Pentagon, 11 letters. The Twin Towers look like 11 side by side. They both have 11 stories. At what point does this stop being a coincidence? At what point? Because we have established that people at the top of the game actually use this stuff. So, listen, I'm not here to basically, attack people and stuff, but I really don't care what poor people think. Because when it comes down to it, no, I'm being dead serious. I don't care what poor people think. And I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm not trying to, because if you actually knew what the hell you were doing in life, you wouldn't be broke. Okay? So let's keep that real. So the people at the top are actually know what they're doing. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. You have to basically see what they're doing and at least have some basic interest, some curiosity. Let's try to reverse engineer this. Let's see if this actually works. So again, Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is the one who supposedly did it. Obviously, we know it a little bit different, but Al-Qaeda was founded August 11th. There are three biggest attacks that they're known for. Obviously, 9/11. They bombed a train in Madrid, Spain on, I believe it was March 11th. And they got people in Mumbai, India on the 11th as well. So the three biggest attacks that Al-Qaeda is known for, all on the 11th. And for people who think that's a coincidence, what about Veterans Day? That's 11/11 every year. The reason that's 11/11 every year is because World War I ended at 11/11 at exactly 11 o'clock. They were still firing bullets at each other at 10:55. At 11, they stopped. So when I started looking at this in 2001, I was like, okay, I see smoke. I just don't know where the fire is coming from.
Right.
And at this point, studying this stuff for about 20 years, I can assure you that people in positions of power use this because this is God's language. I don't care if you're a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian. Numbers are all over your Bible. Listen, if you want to say astrology's from the devil, I'm going to say you're stupid, but whatever. You can make that argument. No one's going to tell me anything bad about numerology because if my numbers are satanic, so is your Quran, so is your Bible, so is your Torah, so is your tablet. Put them all there. Numbers are all over. And it's up to you to put in the work. I can talk this for hours if you guys want me to. But it's up to you people out there to do the work and do the research, and then you're going to basically see with your own eyes. This is real. John F. Kennedy was born on the 29th. John F. Kennedy went after the Federal Reserve. You guys know this, right? He signed Executive Order 11110 on 6/4/1963. So let's do the math. We have John F. Kennedy, who's born on the 29th, to and 9 is 11. He waited until Executive Order 11110. He waited. The reason he did that is because 1111 is 1111. And what happened? The Federal Reserve put a bullet in him via the CIA, who used the mob as patsies. So basically, John F. Kennedy went after the Fed with numerology. And when did they kill him? 1122 in Dallas, right by a Freemason temple.
11.
There you go. Now you're getting it. And what was the first thing that Lyndon Johnson did is when he became president? Wasn't burying John F. Kennedy or doing any of that. First thing he did, repeal Executive Order 11110. And we all know what the Federal Reserve is. It's economic terrorists. We all know the Federal Reserve was created on Jekyll Island. We all know that the people who were against the Federal Reserve died on the Titanic. Titanic was a hit job. People do understand that J.P. Morgan basically had two ships, the Titanic and the Olympia. And he basically made the Titanic look like the Olympia. He got all those rich folks aboard, a guy by the name of Mr. Uster, who owned 40% of the mortgages in New York City and United States. 40% he owned 100 years ago. Damn. And basically, when he died, all the money that was going to the politicians who were against the Federal Reserve, all that shit dried up real quick. All of a sudden, the Federal Reserve is born in 1913. And guess what? World War II is 1914. So you go from Titanic sinking, Federal Reserve, World War I, and they've had their machine ever since. Now, here's the problem. Sometimes a parasite infects the host to the point that if you take the parasite out, you're going to kill the host. That's what we have with the Federal Reserve right now.
I agree.
If you destroy the Federal Reserve right now, the American dollar is done, and America is done as an empire. So the question becomes, yes, it was an evil thing when it started, but at this point, if you try to take the Federal Reserve out of the United States, we're done. Well, we're absolutely done. Let me just finish one second. Sure. And when it comes down to the Federal Reserve, I want people to understand something. Who will release the information to the American people about the Federal Reserve? It usually came out in the 80s and stuff like that. But who are the people who are basically promoting it? CCP. The CCP wanted the American people to know what the Federal Reserve was, so people get angry. Our enemies will tell us the truth. If you want the truth about America, listen to China and Russia. You want the truth about Russia and China, listen to America. They will never tell on themselves. Go ahead, brother.
No, that's all very interesting. I will part ways with you in one regard. I think that corrupt presidents that, for instance, drone strike American citizens extrajudicially, like Barack Obama did.
Oh, you mean the guy who won the Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah, that's the one.
Gotcha.
Same,
okay,
one in the
just
same.
making sure.
I know, one in the same. Can you believe it?
The guy who bombed the hell out of Libya, right?
Yeah, he drone struck a kid, for God's sake. But look, I think that if yes, I agree with both you guys that America is the greatest country in the world, and First Amendment, Second Amendment, all the whole Bill of Rights. I love all of it. The issue is that you have a corrupt presidency, you have a corrupt financial system. I don't want if we have to reform everything to get rid of that level of corruption, I'm on board with it.
You're okay with being a third world nation. You're okay with living in poverty
because you know what, the route that we're on, the pathway that we're on, $34 trillion in debt. We are headed there regardless. It's going to happen. Okay. So I would opt for it today. Let me suffer so that my children may thrive.
Okay, I understand that line of thinking, but I also like to bring up Rome, because Rome is the modern day in America. Back in the day, right. And when you look at Rome, Rome was falling apart. The Huns were invading. The Visigoths were on their ass too. And basically, what happened was a guy by the name of Augustus Caesar came to power. And Augustus Caesar started spreading new laws, started spreading morality. And within about 50, 60 years, Rome was the strongest ever it was. So they still had the same corrupt Roman Senate. They still had the same corruption. But what you had was a benevolent dictator. The first benevolent dictator in world history. His name was Augustus Caesar. So yes, this system can be fixed if you put the right guy in there. Yeah. I'm not willing to go and put my kids and my grandkids, who knows how long it's going to last. Once you give up that superpower mantle, look at the UK. The UK, the Sun never used to sign on the UK empire. Now it's a piece of garbage right by Europe. Okay, it's basically garbage. What it now?
Bunch of beta cuck soy boys who are fucking
100%.
afraid of fucking knives. Pathetic weasels who have been fucking demasculated, conquered, and taken over with the third world that was literally let into their fucking country, and then they're having their fucking way with them. It's absolutely fucking pathetic. Where now they have a fucking thought police that go around and fucking make sure that you don't misgender someone by accident. That's fucking
wild.
That
Did y'all
is
see-
what happens.
Did
That's
y'all
what
see,
happens.
Did y'all see that viral video where they have these? It's like 13 and 14-year-old little girls that are doing PSA videos for migrants, and like if you actually look at the rape statistics in these areas, it is predominantly the migrants that are the perpetrators of rape, and it's like you have little girls that are doing PSAs for these people. It's fucking crazy.
Let me
dude.
push back on that a little bit. In America, and we can all agree that rape is one of the most vile things you can do, correct? Everyone can agree to that.
Close to the worst, yeah.
So, I think it's worse than murder. I know, and being raped, I think that's worse than murder because the psychological trauma these women deal with after that is off the charts. But let's be honest, 85% of the rapists in the United States of America come from single mothers. They are causing their own problem. It's this cycle that keeps continuing. Single mother, a kid with no father, no masculine energy, no one to whoop his ass when he does something wrong, grows up feeling entitled, and guess what? They become the rapists. Yeah. So I don't want to say it's on immigrants because I know a lot of good immigrants.
Of course.
My parents are, immigrants. I think everyone here to a point is an immigrant, at least their families are. But it comes down to a lot of those kids who are immigrants don't have fathers.
Of course, but this
single parent households from women, the statistics are extremely blackpilling and extremely devastating when you look at the rates of criminality, recidivism, drug abuse, substance abuse that go up dramatically when they're raised by single moms. And then single moms are becoming more and more of a reality for everyday society.
Well, in America, it's like, first off, we have the most people in prison, and I believe the statistic is 80% come from fatherless homes of the people that are in prison. So it's wild. But the pushback that I have on this PSA from these little girls in the UK is that this is a marketing tool for migrants before they arrive. So it's like if you're going to have migrants that are coming across that have some sort of negative outlook perspective when it comes to little girls, you don't want them to be told, hey, you're gonna be embraced by these 14-year-old girls when you arrive. Like, that's pretty fucked up. So that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. Most immigrants are great people.
Listen, when it comes to Muslims and Islamic society, they're different, bro. They're different. One thing I will say is you don't have any pride flags in the Middle East.
That is true.
You have a lot of
Bakabasi,
rooftop events that are not favorable towards people.
I would rather deal with ISIS than the LGBT mafia. Okay,
they're just as radicalized in many instances.
I will take fascists over communists. Yeah. I'm keeping it real. I will take fascist over communist because there's still an element of capitalism within fascism. Yeah.
They're both statist, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
As a Polak, I hate fascists and communists.
Yeah,
It's in my blood.
Okay, so who's worse?
Commies, absolutely.
Okay, so
this is my grandma. My grandma lived through German occupation and Soviet occupation, and I was like, who's worse? She was like, absolutely the fucking Soviets. So of course. The Soviets were fucking horrible.
Listen, the Soviets were crazy when they were invading Berlin, and in 1945 when it was all over.
It was like the rape of Nakin.
They had something. They had something called 8 to 80, and the translation is 8 to 80. And that basically means if a little girl is 8 years old or an old woman is old as 80, the Russian soldiers would rape her.
Yep, absolutely huge, like rapes.
And by the way, women, that's what happens when you don't have men to protect you.
Exactly.
That's exactly what happens. You need men in society to protect. Because right now, what we have going on in Ukraine, I think half the Ukrainian men are dead or they left the country. And now Zelensky, this bloodthirsty murderer, wants to send women to the front line to battle hardened Russian troops. Brother, put up the white flag.
Yeah,
do you understand? When you have to send women to the front lines, it's time to give up Because what's going to happen is you're going to kill all your men, and then guess what? Someone's going to come conquer your land, whether you want it or not.
But Biden and his administration are going to be doing everything in their power to hold on to that
Of
battle
course.
as much as they can during this election cycle, because it's going to be really bad for them. Another thing that the fucking Russians did when they invaded Berlin is that they covered up the death of Hitler, who I believe absolutely survived.
Argentina.
Absolutely lived. They never showed the fucking remains. The skull is of a woman's skull, not of a male skull that the Russians showed once, many years afterwards, and then lost mysteriously, and then can't find ever again. So Hitler also was really big into astrology, was really big into numerology, and he believed
He wasn't too good at it though.
And he was a meth head also, but he was
Wasn't
also
too good at it.
He was also a part of the Tullis Society, and a lot of people believe that he was also bankrolled by the Rothschilds and financed by them as well.
Does
by
Israel,
the Red Shields.
Does Israel exist without Hitler?
No, it does not. And the Rothschilds essentially brag about, especially through the Balfour Declaration, how they set up Israel inside of the Middle East. So a lot of this is interconnected in many different ways. But Hitler's kind of fascination with a lot of the kind of interdimensional aspects of our society was also pretty fascinating as well. I don't know if you've done a little research into it as well.
I've looked into Hitler quite often. Hitler was a 33 life path. And that, tells you how a man who was pretty much a male prostitute from Vienna could go into, German society and just completely took over.
Wait, he was a male prostitute?
Yeah, he was a male prostitute in Vienna when he was a failed artist. When you look at Hitler, a guy by the name of Ike Hart, I forgot, he was from the Thrill Society. He basically made Hitler. And when the guy died, he's like, listen, I couldn't influence Germany, but my creation will. He was talking about Hitler. Hitler decided in 2000, I think it was 1923, that he was going to throw over the government. And basically, he was destroyed. He went to prison. And then when he was on trial, he just gave these wonderful speeches. And the people just fell in love with the guy because he has such a great mouthpiece. I mean, you can say anything you want about the guy: bloodthirsty murderer, homosexual, but
vegan, anti-smoking, meth head.
Yes.
How the fuck do you worship that guy?
Listen, that's what happened in Germany. They're all putting their hands up. They were all worshiping the guy, and basically, after he was released from prison, he said, "You know what? I'm going to do this through the ballot box." So in 1924, he got nothing. 1928, he got almost like maybe 3% at Reichstag. And then 1929 happened. Wall Street crashed. And then when Wall Street crashed, all the people in Germany who are living okay started going to poverty.
Right.
And once the people started going to poverty, then they were okay with radical change. So it was the 1929 Wall Street crash that elevated Hitler. And then 1939, he basically won the most seats in their parliament, and he was named chancellor. The people who named him chancellor thought they control him. Big mistake.
Oops.
And then once the president of Germany at that point died, he merged the chancellor's office with the presidency, and he became their Führer.
Right.
And at that point, Wall Street was funding him. Prescott Bush was funding him. A lot of people were funding him.
David Rockefeller was obsessed with him. Margaret Sanger as well.
Yes, that's why when they sent all the whole world was in depression, all the money was going in Germany. They're building roads, they're building streets. All of a sudden, he amassed this huge army in 1938, and the German generals wanted to take him out because they said, listen, we're not ready for war. We're not going to win a world war. So what happened? There was a British prime minister by the name of Chamberlain. And Chamberlain went to Munich, and he basically gave Hitler everything he wanted. He gave him Czechoslovakia. He gave him everything. At that point, the generals couldn't do anything because he is a folk hero. He got everything he wanted without a single bullet being fired.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, the people loved him. And then 1939 came, and it was time to go to war.
Yeah.
And basically, it comes down to this. He was propped up because if he was the Rothschilds basically sent Chamberlain in there to give him everything he wanted to prop his ass up. The same way Obama propped up Trump by mentioning his name over and over and over. It's a prop up. So Hitler was basically put in power because how far can I go here?
As far as you want.
Super
Okay.
far.
The Jews were living very good in Germany. That was the one place in the world where they weren't being run over, weren't telling to get the hell out of here, and they were told, listen, go to Palestine. Why would they want to go to Palestine? It's a desert. There's nothing there. They're living in one of the best societies in the world at that point. So the Rothschilds decided it was time to force them to leave, and that's how Hitler came to power.
So why would the Rothschilds, who I mean, they did support the Balfour Declaration. They were responsible for writing that letter. But why would they want the Jewish people to be kicked out of Germany?
Because someone has to get the herd moving.
So
They want Israel to be a Jewish state. You got to have Jews in there.
I see.
So you have to make it very difficult
Right.
for the Jews to be in Germany. That's why when they sent that boat over to America, over to Europe, no one wanted the Jews.
They got sent
denied them.
back. Yep.
They denied them. They sent them back. They
Yep.
sent them back to be murdered.
Yep.
Yep.
Murdered. The only thing I disagree about the Holocaust is I don't believe it was 6 million. I believe it was like 250,000, 350,000 around. That's the evidence that I've seen. I don't believe 6 million died. I know that the Rothschilds like the number 6 because if you look at the Jewish Star, it has 6 points. And then if you go on Google, guys, you guys can look this up. And by the way, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm Jewish myself. There's a big difference between Zionist and Jew. You hear me, Kanye West? All right, you hear? There's a big difference between Zionist and Jew. I am a Jew. Zionists killed my people. And Jews are always used as the scapegoats for the Zionist crimes because you need a scapegoat.
Yeah.
You need a scapegoat. Now, a lot of people are waking up to the fact of what Zionism is now. And quite frankly, Zionism is the one that pushes homosexuality, funds it, funds feminism, funds everything. Why would they do that? Because as long as the house is divided, it cannot stand. And if everyone is fighting against each other, no one's looking at them. That's how this world works. They want to divide and conquer. Oldest tactic in the book. And now you guys understand how they do it. So yes, Hitler was funded by the Rothschilds. And I think by the time he figured that out, that he was actually, being a puppet, they had a guy by the name of Martin Bormann. This is when you're calling back to Argentina. Martin Bormann was Hitler's handler. And Martin Bormann is the one that cut the deals with the Allies to make sure they can leave to Argentina. Martin Bormann was Hitler's handler, and no one even knows who the hell this guy is.
Yeah. And it's also important to note that Hitler was drugged up a lot,
Yes.
extensively to the point where
Yes.
a lot of the times he wasn't making any kind of real coherent decisions. And if you look at the history of World War II, the Germans could have had many successful military campaigns that they lost if they would have made the right decisions during key critical moments of time where the decisions mattered the most. And then Hitler and then Goering and then who's the guy in charge of the Waffen-SS?
Goering was in charge of the Waffen. No. It was Himmler.
Himmler. They all made some really fucking dumbass.
How do we know they didn't do that on purpose? How do we know they didn't? Because I remember when reading up, there was this French guy who wrote a book about World War II. And he said the French were sent to a certain position and they ran out of gas with their tanks. And when they got to that position, the Germans just went around like this in a circle around the French tanks and they just started destroying them. How do you know those tanks weren't put there on purpose to make it easier for the Germans to win the war? Another thing, there's no way Hitler should have lost Stalingrad. There's no way he should have lost Kursk, but he waited. A lot of people talked about the Ukrainian offensive this year in Russia.
The counteroffensive.
The counteroffensive. It would have been effective if they started in April, but they gave the Russians about 4 or 5 months to basically mine the whole goddamn field. Right. Now they're going in with all these American tanks. They're getting blown up by mines. So by the time all this American and UK and German equipment goes through the mines, they're all destroyed. Their army's gone. And now the Russians are in a full advance. And by the way, don't think for a second it's a coincidence that Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, and that's Vladimir Putin's birthday. Don't think that's a coincidence because that's when the Russian offensive started.
Yeah, Nikki Haley believes that there's a connection here somehow
she's
implicating
right. She's
the
right.
Russians.
She's right. She's 100% right about that. I was shocked when she said that, but she's 100% right because that was Iran's gift to Putin. So Hamas is Sunnis. Iran is Shiites. Shiites and Sunnis honestly don't like each other. But Iran was funding Hamas to actually start that attack. And then after it happened, Iran's like, oh, we didn't know what was going on. They basically set those guys up, and no one cared. They did it for Vladimir Putin because he asked them to.
It's very
and,
interesting.
and it does create a geopolitical situation that is more advantageous for the Russians.
Yes.
And Iran is also in the same boat along with China and Russia, geopolitically opposed against the United States. So it would make sense if, especially during an election year, because if you look at the Democrats, they're always obsessed with Russia. If you look at the Republicans, they're always obsessed with Iran.
No one's looking at China.
And now no one's looking at China. That's an important observation here, as China is also financing and bankrolling both of these countries as well, and doing a lot of business deals with them, a lot of trading with them, and also kind of a silent partner with them when it comes to opposing the U.S. petrodollar.
China is not giving Russia any weapons.
They're not, but they're allowing.
They're buying their oil.
Yeah, and then selling it to Europe at a premium.
Yes, yes.
Which
They're also creating a competitor to the SWIFT financial rails.
I've talked to plenty of billionaires. The Chinese system only works in China and Russia. There's no other place they can use their Chinese quote-unquote SWIFT system. Brinks is a joke. We don't have to worry about that for a decade. They don't have the means to do it. I've asked billionaires extensively about this. Can the Chinese do it? No. There's not one currency that can replace the U.S. dollar at this point. Not the euro, not the yen, not the remi. Nothing can replace the U.S. dollar. Now, could that change next decade? Yeah, you best believe it. But right now, no one's touching this.
I
we
agree
got a
with that.
Streamlabs chat by We Are Change saying, hey guys, 100% numerology and astrology is real, fun astrology fact. Pluto is about to transit into Aquarius for the
Yes.
next 20 years. Last time it was an Aquarius
Correct.
was 240 plus years ago, coinciding with French and American revolutions. Keep the faith, good will win. What do you make of that?
He's absolutely right. I don't really get into Western astrology too much because you have to, do charts and things of that nature. That's very difficult for a person's mind to understand. But when I talk about numbers, I can talk about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan both being 11 life paths. I mean, people always talk about how come those two are so similar. You see it right there. Barack Obama, one of the best mouthpieces in the world. He's an 11 life path. Who was the Republicans' Barack Obama? Ronald Reagan, another 11 life path.
What is an 11 life path?
If you take someone's numerology number, it all reduces down to an 11. That's an 11 life path. Kobe was an 11. Michael Jordan's an 11. Kanye's an 11.
Obama has my birthday. That's
Yeah,
8/4.
but he's born 8/4/1961. 8 plus 4 plus 1961 adds up to 29. 2 and 9 adds up to 11. So, and you don't reduce 11s, 22s, and 33s.
All right, that was too fast for me, but I think I followed.
What do you? How do you respond to criticisms with some people saying that you're having loose connections here? Some people are extrapolating. Is there anything that potentially is like your steel man argument to some of the criticism that you might face? And is there any kind of maybe information that we or maybe someone else could put into action and then kind of report back, being like, okay, this is legitimate
Very
or not
simple.
legitimate?
On the 4th, 13th, or 31st, again, 4, 13, 1 and 3 is 4, 31st, 3 and 1 is 4. That's the number of law and order. So if you want to pay attention on those days, you're going to see a whole bunch of cops in the streets pulling people over. So that's one thing you can look for yourself. Another thing, most of the best looking women are born on the 5th, 14th, 23rd. 5's number of looks. Go on your Facebooks, put in 5th, 14th, 23rd. You're going to see a whole bunch of good looking people. When it comes down to podcasting, or radio, I believe Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern were the kings of radio. Am I mistaken?
Yeah.
And do you know they're born on the same day? Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh are born on the same day. They're both born on the 12th. 1 and 2 is 3. 3 is the number of communication. You're born on what day?
December 12th.
So again, look at the business you're in. So when it comes down to it, people who are born on under 3 energy, Crowder, Sartain, Rollo, a lot of people with certain energies run their mouth a lot. You're born on the 4th.
Yeah.
You're a hardworking man.
Yeah, well, not according to Luke, but I would say it's
Okay.
I agree.
He's a 4 too. He's a 4 too. So again, that's the only person who will criticize you. Another 4. 4s are the number of hard work.
Yeah.
Work is a 4-letter word. So again, people can say I'm basically generalizing, but once you start looking into information, It's dead. It's right there, man.
Greta Thunberg and Kyle Rittenhouse actually have the same
January
birthday.
3rd. January 3rd.
And when I was with Kyle, I'm like, dude, you got to take one for the team. You got to go ask her out. You got to save the world by making love to Greta Thunberg. He was like, shut up, man. Stop it. I was like, Kyle, you got to do it, man. You have to take it for the team.
And again, why the elite choose Greta? Because she's born on the 3rd. She'll get that message out.
Well, I got to make a point before we move on, because I could tell that we're shifting topics here soon. But the Lindsey Graham clip that we opened this segment up with, Lindsey says, "I've been saying for 6 months that we need to bomb Iran. The attack from Hamas was about 3 months ago." So this man is already admitting that he's been calling for the bombing. And let's be honest, it's been a lot longer than 6 months. It's been about 6 years, maybe 16 years that he's been calling for the bombing of Iran. So this guy is just fucking
You remember John McCain? Bomb, bomb, Iran, Tehran or something like that. John McCain's in hell right now. If you believe there's a hell, John McCain is there.
Yes.
Let me tell you something about John McCain. He was a pilot, and his dad was a general or something like that during the Vietnam War. And once they shot down McCain and they got him down, they started interrogating his ass, and he gave them all the secrets to basically what happened. So it went down from the Vietnam shooting down maybe 10% of American planes to shooting down like 60.
Right.
He is responsible for all of those people dying. Now, John McCain might be like, "Oh, I'm not leaving until the rest of these people are coming with me." That was a political move.
Because he was guilty.
That was a political move. A political move. John McCain deserves to be in hell. And personally, I think John McCain was picked in 2008 to run against these fucking clowns because it was like a lose. He was supposed to lose, just like John Kerry was supposed to lose, just like Al Gore was supposed to lose. I think they run on purpose because before Trump got in all this mix, Democrats and Republicans like this. They're like this. Yeah. Now Trump is there. All of a sudden, the Bush family does not like Trump. They do not like Trump. And the Bush family's connected with the Obamas, with the Clintons. These are all friends.
Yeah.
These are all friends.
Bush and John Kerry were jerk-off buddies at Skull and Bones in their secret society. They were literally like wanking each other off.
Do you remember Tim Cat? What's his name? The guy who was running Meet the Press.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. The little chubby guy.
Yeah, the chubby guy.
Tim Russert? No.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
Okay. Yep.
He basically brought up that both these guys were bone and skulls. He died not too long after.
Yeah, we went outside of Skull and Bones and then put on a Bush and Dick Cheney mask and started dry humping each other.
Dick Cheney's daughter is a lesbian for a reason.
And then Cindy McCain here, John McCain's wife, literally came out and said everyone knew what was happening with Jeffrey Epstein. They knew that he was essentially raping small children, and they were just...
He was running a honeypot operation for Mossad, and his whole job was to get American elite basically in compromising positions. And once he tried to go after Trump, that's when they got him. He actually had the balls to go after Donald Trump. And that's a mistake because Donald Trump is connected to higher up people in Mossad than this punk. So when he was going after the Clintons, it was okay. Yeah. When he was going after American politicians, it's okay. But once he went after Trump,
well, he had Bill Barr, who, of course, helped, whose father gave Epstein his start, essentially be the guy who took him out and then lied to the American public about it. So Bill Barr also played a major role, a part of that operation. We should be taking callers now. So if you're a member of LukeUnfiltered.com, don't forget that this is your opportunity to call in and ask us whatever question you want. We have one caller on the line, Andrew G., who, of course, we're going to be going to right now. And Andrew, if you have a video, feel free to start it so we could see you. And then feel free to ask us any kind of question that you want here. Again, anyone could become a member, LukeUnfiltered.com.
Hey,
Andrew, how's it going? Are you okay turning on your video
Good.
camera?
Yeah, can you see me?
I could hear you. We cannot see you now.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Awesome. I like the shirt. The shirt's pretty cool.
Hey, thanks. I got it from a buddy.
It's an awesome t-shirt. He has a mind control shirt that we made out of the Pornhub logo. Since essentially that's exactly what it is. And Andrew, thank you so much for calling in. What's your question?
Yeah, I mean, I did have a couple questions written down, but now that you guys are on McCain, I'm wondering at McCain's funeral, those letters that were getting passed around, what do we think was on those letters?
So you're talking about the letters that were passed from Michelle Obama or Mike Obama to George W. Bush. I don't know if you remember this moment, but everyone was saying that this was some kind of larger kind of message, some kind of larger action done here by the elites that were supposed to be done in front of everyone. What do you make of that?
When John McCain died, Barack Obama pretty much gave his eulogy. That was his political opponent. I don't believe that happened for a second the way they think I think John McCain was there to make sure Barack Obama became president.
That's why he would eulogize him, because he's like, this is my homeboy.
Yeah, but they want to pretend that they were political rivals. That was his boy. John McCain was not running a campaign to win. That's why he suspended his campaign.
That's also why they buried Ron Paul's campaign.
Yep. So when it comes down to John McCain, he basically was there to make sure Barack Obama became president.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah, he was a part of the club, and he was, again, the fall guy. Republicans love playing the fall guy as well. And people don't understand just how scripted a lot of American politics is. But
they're all frauds.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, all these guys are frauds. Every single last one of them. I don't see conservatives. I see rhinos and moderates.
Yep.
That's all I see. I don't know what
I see neocons and pedophiles myself, but that's
I see neocons, pedophiles, and Thomas Massey.
We got a pedophile in office right now who likes to sniff people.
No,
do you know how embarrassing that is to see a president like that? I mean, the people outside of America must be laughing at us. Absolutely laughing at us that we have this puppet usurper called Joe Biden. Listen, I've said this before when I got here. I'll say it again publicly. I have not drank in 10 years. Haram. But when Joe Biden dies, brother, let's get together at a local bar. I'm drinking because I will celebrate that. Anytime a pedophile dies, you got to celebrate that shit.
Break out the Louis with Tim Pool right there, baby.
As to your question as to what was in the letter, I really don't know, man. It could have been laying out the game plan for the next 12 months. It could have been a threat. I have no idea. Do you have a thesis?
I really don't know. I think their faces and their silence said a lot. But yeah, I mean, for me to speculate on it, I don't know enough to be able to say one way or another. But with all the great minds over there, that's why I figured I'd throw that question out there.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine on that one. But I think that given what we're now facing, where there's this clear, basically like what he's describing is we had the veneer of there being these two parties, but we all realize that there's more or less a uniparty. But now you have these certain political actors like the Trump movement that are so populist in their origin that they have to be suppressed too. So the uniparty, which we all know already existed, I think they are trying to make it a actual like legal reality that there will only be one party moving forward. And I think that's once that happens, then it's you can only shoot your way out. And I'm not looking forward to that.
Andrew, I hope we were able to answer your question. Anything else you want to ask us? Anything else you want to say before we go?
One thing I will throw out there, I'm a big believer behind the simulation theory, and with all the talk of the astrology, it just got me thinking about just coincidences or non-coincidences that seem to happen in everyday life and existence. And I'm wondering, if you think there's any correlation between the astrology, what's written, and fate, and the potential simulation that I think we're living in here.
No, that's a great question, because is there anything that was a coincidence that is not linked to astrology or numerology that you think was a real coincidence?
I don't believe in coincidences.
Exactly.
I don't believe in coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. In the Bible, it talks a lot about the animal kingdom. To me, the animal kingdom is astrology. The Leo, all the signs besides the Gemini and Virgo are basically represented by animals. So to me, that is the animal kingdom. Astrology. I mean, think about how the world works. You have 12 signs, astrology signs, one sun. You have one judge, 12 jurors. They love that 12 plus 1 system.
Here's my question, because this is, and it kind of plays on to the call-in question too, and I was wondering this as well, so I'm really happy we're talking about this now, is do you believe that that everyone is so aware and so smart to be implementing these codes, or is it that
The people at the top? Oh,
yeah,
yes.
that's what
You
I'm
best
saying,
believe it.
because I'm curious to see, like, is it really that they are that aware of the code, or is it so coincidental? Is it so perfectly God's language, this matrix, that it's just simulated? Like, it's so
Perfection.
perfect that it can't.
Perfection. Absolute perfection.
Well, when they're
in the
putting
simulation.
Moloch in, when they're putting Moloch everywhere, they know they're doing something, right? I mean, it's not
Maybe they
hidden, it's not
understand that
secret.
it's a simulation,
Well, yeah.
and they're like, we're going to play into this. And we don't want anyone to
there's
think or
cheat code-
question.
There's cheat codes in the Matrix. Would you like me to release a
Yes.
cheat code right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How about a cheat code for wealth? You guys want one?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know Vladimir Putin's way richer than Elon Musk, right?
Yes.
We agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
So we talked about in the very beginning that 28 is the number of wealth. Elon Musk is born on the 28th. You know, Bill Gates born on the 28th, but Vladimir Putin's not born on the 28th. So where'd he get all his money from? Well, Vladimir Putin is born October 7th, as we talked about before, which happens to be the 280th day of the year. Now, Vladimir Putin also got married on the 28th, and his first daughter was born on the 28th. Here's a hack for you guys. You want to get richer? Have a kid born on the 28th. All of a sudden, boom. I was just with a guy worth about 15 to 20 billion. Okay? And this morning I had breakfast with a guy worth about that much money. His kid's born on the 28th. So there's a hack for you guys. You want one? How about this one? You guys remember Anna Nicole Smith?
Yep.
Yeah, she married a 90-year-old billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you guys look up his birthday?
Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah, look up Anna Nicole Smith's birthday.
But I can't
gonna say the
choose to have
28th.
a kid on the 28th.
You
can.
could
Why
have, you
not?
could have a C-section.
There
So
you go.
If any woman out there that's a bodacious blonde in her mid-20s, preferably maybe Polish, wants to try this out, I might be willing to participate in such an experiment, maybe.
Ain't no experiment.
Anna Nicole Smith, born November 28th,
Yeah.
1967.
My kid, his birthday was yesterday, December 28th. He was born a few years ago. Since he's been born, I've been making millions upon millions. So again, this works. I did it myself. And if you guys think this is a coincidence, that's all good. We could talk about Apple being founded 3/1/1977, 13/1977/28. Let's talk about. Listen, people want to talk about State Street and BlackRock. That's all garbage. BlackRock's a private company. State Street, I believe, is a private company. It could be wrong, but they're all you can basically buy their shares. You can't buy any shares in Vanguard. And who owns 10% of BlackRock? Vanguard. Where does Obama keep his money? Vanguard. I mean, every dirty pedophile in the world has their money in Vanguard. And I know this because people in Vanguard told me. But here's the point. When was Vanguard founded? You want to look up the date for us? When was Vanguard founded?
Vanguard funding.
Founded.
Did that. Hold on.
You're gonna make me have to have another kid. I got 2 boys, and neither of them are on the 28th.
Hey, brother, work your magic.
I'm having a hard time finding
Okay,
it.
they're founded 5/1/1975. 5 + 1 + 1 975 adds up to 28. You guys want to keep thinking this is a coincidence? Go ahead. Me and the elite will keep making money. You guys,
5/1/1975. I just
yeah, it's
confirmed it.
1975. So 5/1/1975 adds up to 28.
Yep.
This is how it works.
Valley
this
Forge,
is how it
Pennsylvania.
works. And by the way, this is how the political system actually works in this country. So you have basically, remember a couple months ago when BlackRock was being investigated by the government?
I do not know.
Okay,
Yeah, I read
okay,
about
you remember that? So Larry Finch, or Fink, whatever his name is, he basically started to talk shit about Vanguard. Within 2 weeks, he gets investigated by the government. So that's what happens when you have Big Daddy over here, and then you have little guy who thinks he's the main man. He's gonna get bit slapped, and that's exactly what happened. Vanguard runs the show. Now, you want to talk about why are so many people, all these companies, all leftists? Why are they promoting LGBT and all this trans shit? The reason they're promoting it is because the billion-dollar companies like Apple, Microsoft, all that, they need to get money from somebody, and they go to Vanguard and BlackRock. And Vanguard and BlackRock, we need equality. We need a same-sex this. So the money comes from here to here.
And they literally get their money from the Federal Reserve that bails out all of their losses, gives them all the tax incentives, gives them all the freaking money to do whatever the fuck they want with. As it's also important to note here that a couple of years ago, I remember talking about this when the news dropped. I was like, this can't be this freaking obvious. This can't be this in your face. And it was an announcement that the Pope was working with Visa, MasterCard, but specifically all organized by a Rothschild to, quote, revision capitalism. And it's not about revisioning capitalism. It's about destroying capitalism.
They don't need capitalism anymore. They don't need capitalism anymore. You know why they don't need it anymore? Because they built the infrastructure. You needed capitalism to build the infrastructure. Now you have the infrastructure. They don't need capitalism anymore. It's that simple. These people are sick in the fucking head, but they're very strategic. They play this like chess. And by the way, they're very open about the fact that they're criminals now.
Yeah.
They're very open about it. You know why? Because the population is so stupid right now. It doesn't matter.
And they're beyond reproach. And they control all of the mechanisms for enforcing any sort of laws. So what do they have to worry about? But to his point about how it trickles down from Vanguard, ESG and DEI is the framework that he's talking about, this diversity, equity, inclusion, and environmental, social, and governance. Vivek Ramaswamy actually wrote a book on it called Woke Inc. I've done numerous episodes breaking down. This all stems not from the U.S. government, actually not even from the Federal Reserve, but from the United Nations. In 2006, I believe it was, after 1999, they started to create this framework, and then 2006, it started to be implemented. Then the World Economic Forum gets on board, then BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard get on board, and then boom, Bob's your uncle, and now we have the entire economy that's totally fucked up.
So Gary, what do you think is the end game here? What do you think is their kind of MO? What are they trying to achieve? I have my own kind of understanding of it.
Break the family unit completely.
Well, mission accomplished.
No, it's not mission accomplished yet. Not yet. Right now we're in dangerous territory, but it's not mission accomplished yet because you still have people out here who have strong families.
Sure.
So here's what basically it comes down to. If you break up the family, there's only one place to turn, and that's Big Daddy government.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what they want. But here's the whole point. When you have a strong family unit, they're like this. And when you have a whole bunch of strong family units around the country, what's going to happen? They're going to keep the government in check.
Yeah.
You think the government would be running slush funds in Ukraine and Afghanistan back in the 50s and 60s? It never would have been allowed. Never.
But the American people at that time still had the courage of their convictions.
No, they had a family unit.
Well, that too.
And if you have a family unit, you understand that it's like this.
Right.
Now that the family unit is broken, who's looking at the government? They're all fighting amongst themselves. Well, now, here's the end goal, though. The end goal is this. Take the kids away from the women at birth. That's the end goal. Because once you do that, there will be no more resistance, no more rebellion. And they're going to use the excuse, so like, look what's happened in the family unit. The state has to take the kids. They're going to make that excuse. And you're so sick of what's going on, people like us who are conservative are like, you know what? Maybe that's the solution. They want to force us in a corner. You understand?
Yeah.
They're forcing, and then when they take the kids at birth to the state, that's it.
Yeah.
No coming back from that. Absolutely none.
I mean, that project, the reaction here, I just can't even envision that being permitted, because as docile as the American people are, you look at like the one thing that has actually engaged us has been like the Bud Light fiasco, is because people frame that as Dylan Mulvaney was advertising towards kids. Then you have the progressive sexual agenda that's being foisted upon children. Then you have all of these mothers that are finally rising up and saying, stop fucking with my kid's mind. I think this is why I tend to believe that people will rise up before it gets to the state actually taking possession.
I mean, you could, we could hope that.
Well,
it might not matter if the next few generations are sterile.
That's another angle.
I mean, let me ask you this: anyone here vaccinated?
No.
Okay.
Wrong house.
Okay, outstanding. That's usually the first question I ask people when I go on a podcast. Are you vaccinated? Because if you are, I don't care how rich you are. I don't care what you know. I don't care what you did in life. You failed the biggest psyop in world history. And guess what? You better have a fucking will.
You failed the biggest IQ test in American history. We
100%.
we have here on the wall a certificate of recognition for everyone who's an OG unvaccinated that we literally sold, and we gave certificates out for the people who passed the IQ test.
I was convincing NBA players to get vaccination cards, and I can tell you right now, I convinced at least double figures NBA players, I will not name any, not to take the vaccine. And one of the teammates who didn't listen to me and did take the vaccine, yeah.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I won't say anything.
Nope. Can't cost anyone endorsement deals.
Yeah, I want to say real quick though, Kyrie Irving, mad respect, brother. That he was the one that did what you're talking about, but he did it publicly. He said flat out, "I am not getting this shit. I have bodily autonomy. I'm a young, healthy man. I don't need it." It cost him tens of millions of dollars in game checks as well as sponsorships. He was described as an anti-Semite and all sorts of fucking crazy shit. But he stood by his convictions, and for that, his heart will be functioning.
He also talks about a lot of
I want to show you something. Don't mention his name. You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't want to mention his name. A guy who was very, very anti-vax, a billionaire who was emailing me in the morning telling me I'm a bad father because I didn't get my kids vaccinated. I would wake up in the morning, I'd get emails from this clown. You saw who it is, right? This clown who was Mr. Vaccine traded for Kyrie Irving, who was Mr. Anti-Vaccine. And when I checked his ass on that, he's like, the COVID protocols are over. I'm like, you fucking moron, man. You piece of garbage.
So many fraudulent fucking weak people just showed their true colors in that period. I still can't believe it. I still can't.
It came out later that a lot of the NFL players had, fake vaccine cards and stuff.
I convinced a lot of them to get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't got this by chance.
and respect to Aaron Rodgers too. He's another one that actually stood on his fucking principles. So few did.
We were here on day one being like, why the fuck would you take something that doesn't have any long-term fucking tests? Why the fuck would you take something from a lying sociopathic industry that has previously bought off politicians, scientists, and studies that, of course, manipulated all the fucking data just so they can make a profit off of your fucking death and misery?
Because I want to travel.
Yeah,
Because it's so hard.
I talked to NFL players who gave up $1 million contracts not to take the vaccine. I don't want to hear shit from anyone. Oh, I have to work, find another job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you have to go out there commit crimes, then you go out there and commit crimes. You do not kill yourself so you can't support your kids later. Listen, this criminal government tried to kill you. This criminal government tried to kill you, and you got to be honest and fair with them? What are you, out your fucking mind? See, I do a lot better when I rumble.
We all do. Andrew, I hope we answered your question. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Anything else you want to say before you go?
No, just thank you. Thanks for everything you do, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to hop on. I appreciate it.
Are you vaccinated, sir?
No way.
Outstanding, brother.
Yeah, exactly. All the members of lukeandfilter.com, I was like, bro, don't do it. Don't take it. Don't do whatever you got to do. Fight for your individual bodily autonomy. It's more important than ever. And for frick's sakes, it's sad to see so many people just go along with it and just try to believe that the government had their best interest at heart, as of course it never frickin' does. We got another Rumble right here from Can of Worms opener saying Martin Bohemern was the spy codenamed Weather that gave Stalin intel every day. This means the table talks are fraudulent. I think he's referring to a previous conversation.
Yeah. Martin Bormann?
Yes.
Yeah, he could have been the spy. He cut the deal with the Americans, so it's very possible. The Germany was never supposed to win the war. They're just supposed to make noise. That's it. When you look at what's going on in Ukraine right now, America is basically weakening Russia to the point where they can't fight for real. But it's a very interesting game because they don't actually want to take Putin out. Because Putin doesn't like the Chinese, okay? These are not friends. These are what you call frenemies.
Right.
You think the immigration problem here is bad? You have a whole bunch of Chinese men who are moving up north to be with a whole bunch of Russian women, and because the Russian men are dead.
Yep.
That's how it works.
And the population of Russia is going down dramatically as well.
And that's what happens when you're a whole bunch of alcoholics. Listen, when I went to Russia and I told these people I didn't drink, they looked at me like I was from another world.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't drink.
I choose not to drink as well.
Haram.
And when you look at the kind of history between China and Russia, it is a very contentious one. But it is one where they are now coming together because of the American geopolitical strategy that has been going against kind of both of them. And they're an alliance, but they're not a willing alliance. They're not a natural alliance when historically they were fighting and over territory.
Yeah. So about 10 years ago, the Russians had a plane that didn't work. but it was like a 5th-generation plane. It didn't work. Putin set up the Chinese. He basically knew the Chinese were trying to steal the plans for this, and he let it happen because the Chinese reverse engineered it, and then they wanted to figure out how come it doesn't work. So again, they don't like each other. And what you know about Vladimir Putin, you can say anything you want about him, but he loves Russia. He loves Russia. I can't say the same thing about Biden or anyone. I know Trump loves America. So Putin loves Russia. And he basically made a law that when he stops being president, all the power goes to the parliament. So when he's not the president of the United States of Russia anymore, the next president's going to be significantly weaker. And the reason he did that is because he didn't want it to be a Chinese puppet. That's why.
He also understands that a lot of people around him are kind of yes men,
Yes.
and a lot of them are more kind of I don't know if neoconservative is the kind of word to
KGB,
use
brother.
here.
KGB.
They're just as aggressive with foreign policy, way more aggressive than even he is. And this is what a lot of people who are calling for Putin to step down don't really realize and understand, that the guy who's going to replace him is probably going to be a bigger warmonger, probably going to be someone who has the bigger potential for creating a larger battle and a larger fight here.
They call
and
them
a lot of people don't understand that.
They call them hardliners in Russia.
Communists.
And Putin has set himself up in a position where people know if they take him down, someone more powerful, more crazy is going to be stepping into power and then doing a lot more aggressive actions.
He's actually he put himself in the gilded cage. Putin basically is doing the same thing his predecessor did, Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin picked Putin because Putin showed loyalty to his mentor in I forgot his name, but
Gorbachev?
No, Gorbachev's way out the picture. He used to be the under guy for the mayor of St. Petersburg. And then when the mayor of St. Petersburg got hit with corruption charges, Vladimir Putin got him a plane and out the country. When Yeltsin saw that, he's like, yo, I found my guy.
Right.
Because he's not going to go after my family once
He's
I get
loyal to the boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened now is Putin's in the same position. He's literally got $1 trillion. He's literally got $1 trillion, okay? So if he leaves, people are going to go after him. So he needs to either die in office or he needs to make sure he can find one of his. And I got to be honest with you. Honor among thieves is not very high on the list with most people. Vladimir Putin is an anomaly. When Vladimir Putin came to power, he toasted all the KGB agents. The KGB agents tried to stop Gorbachev during Perestroika in 1990, 1991. The communists lost. What happened after that is the KGB said, you know what? We have to take over the political system. So they basically went around, started going in office, and once Putin came to power, all those rich oligarchs that were backing him, he fucking got rid of them quick.
Yep.
All of them. And he made sure that his KGB boys became the new billionaires.
Yeah.
So
well, plus when they privatized the economy, they would put out these private shares of stock, but they put them at a discount, and then the Russian people sold off those shares of stock to the mob bosses.
Yep.
It's fucking brilliant. Criminal, but brilliant.
It's crony capitalism.
There's a lot of thieves in government, and I do see Putin kind of putting himself in a situation that is more about self-preservation and the preservation of his country that he does. I think really does.
I mean,
does care about.
Let me ask you this: the Chinese had tanks in Toronto. Would the American government put up with it? Of course not.
Yep.
So if you have NATO so close to Moscow, 200 miles, they're not going to put up with it either. America started this war in Ukraine. It wasn't the Russians. And by the way, I don't think Putin's a good guy. I think he's a mob boss running a country. But guess what? I'd rather take him than this fucking pedophile in office.
One last question. Who do you think is going to win the next election?
Too soon.
Got it.
Too soon, and I'm going to tell you why. They got plan A, plan B, plan C. And there's no set plans with these people.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
And I think Twitter, free speech, Rumble is one of them. And I think this is why there has been so many significant attacks against it, because if you're going to run a PSYOP, you can't have people calling it out. And on Twitter, on Rumble, on free speech platforms, we get to call it out live and in the moment.
Let me say one thing, though. Elon Musk, number one, thank you for what you've done with Twitter. I think you need to suspend a whole bunch of people impersonating me, but that's fine. You know, that it pisses me off, but whatever. Twitter is a much better place now under Musk. But listen, I have to say this. In 2010, when Tesla needed a loan or they were going under, they got a loan from the government, which means Barack Obama gave Elon Musk a loan for $500 million. Now, Tesla obviously repaid it back and everything, but without that loan, they're out of business. So I haven't seen one bad word from Elon Musk about Obama. As a matter of fact, he does nothing but praise Obama over and over. I think that Musk is Obama's guy. And to be fair, I'll take Barack Obama over Hillary Clinton and this piece of garbage Joe Biden every day. But I think that Elon owes Obama, and I think if you looked at what happened with Twitter, with all those Twitter files that came out, it was all very negative against Joe Biden, who Barack Obama wants out now. You know, you got to think of it this way. I mean, he's the one who put Biden in power so he could take him out. And, you know, you got to feel a little bit bad for Joe Biden.
No,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. He had this great game plan of becoming president, being Obama's puppet, making money in Ukraine. Because let's face it, Obama's a billionaire. Obama's worth way more money than Trump. Okay, let's get that out the way. But Biden's just a lowly level politician. He'll sell out for a couple mil. You know, it's a joke. Biden had a son called Beau Biden. He was the Attorney General of Delaware. I think he was basically, in the Army.
He was next in line to become the president of the United States.
Yes, he was Biden's bag boy. He was the one who was supposed to take the bribes, the payouts, and everything. He died. He had no choice but to go to that degenerate, crackhead, fucking piece of shit Hunter. Can you imagine? He planned this for 20, 30 years, and his freaking son died, and now he has to go to the backup plan. So again, you got to feel a little bit bad for him. Anyways, fuck you anyway.
He probably molested all of them.
Yeah, I actually believe that.
Gary, this has been very interesting, a very fascinating conversation. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
I love politics, bro.
Any questions you have for us?
Listen, it's not a question for you guys. This is a request to all the influencers in Miami, whether it be Patrick Bet-David, whether it be Fresh and Fit, Sneeko, anyone who has a big platform. It is your fucking duty, to go out there and whoever the GOP nomination is, you bang, and you bang hard. Because, a lot of people say this stuff don't matter, the president don't affect me. Yes, it does. Because you know what? A lot of them are the same. A lot of these Republicans and Democrats are the same. But the Republicans ain't trying to take my guns. The Republicans ain't trying to raise my taxes. The Republicans aren't trying to fucking break up my family. The Democrats are. This stuff matters. And don't complain about, I don't want this, or the election was stolen. No, don't make those complaints. Go out in a landslide. And I'm going to say the same thing I told men in 2016. I'm going to tell them right now. If you're a man and you're out there, Trump, and then you have your wife or your daughter voting for the Democrats who just canceled out your vote, you're not even a real fucking man. Okay? You're not even a fucking real man. Because a real man is going to have the women in his house vote the same way he does. At least with politics. We need to go back to head of household, one vote and everything like that. But if you're a man, don't go out here, Trump, tell everyone to vote, and then your wife and your sister and your daughter's voting for the other side. Fix your house first. And then go out there and start telling people, rah, Trump. I don't need to tell my wife who to vote for. I don't need to tell my mother who to vote for. They're voting who I vote for. And that's what you guys need to do out there, because if you don't, this country's going to hell.
That's why Clint believes in repealing the 19th Amendment, right, Clint?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think it's not even the 19th. It's that I want property owners to be the only ones that can vote. That's my honest opinion.
The COVID-19th Amendment did more damage than COVID-19. and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this too. I want people to understand this. In numerology, 19 is a bad health number.
Yeah,
it's a bad health number. Shocking COVID-19. Oh, by the way, COVID-19 became a pandemic on the 11th. The World Trade Health Organization named it a pandemic on the 11th. They called it COVID-19. Everything down the list was under 11, 11, 11. And guys, if you guys think this is bullshit, then I question your IQ level. But at the end of the day, do the research, put in the work, and then you're going to see this stuff is very, very real. Last thing on this. Everyone knows who Jay-Z and Beyonce is.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z and Beyonce are born on the 4th. They're both billionaires. Why don't you look up the mansion they live in that looks like the number 4? That's it.
Do your own homework. Do your own research. It's something that we've been saying for about 20 years now. I've been doing this for way too long. But this has been a really fun episode, a really great conversation that went all over the place from Hitler to voting rights to everyday politics. And if you guys appreciated it, share it with your friends and family members, because these types of conversations I don't see anyone else really having. We're having them here in real life, in person, where the energies can't be fooled, they can't be tricked. And I really appreciate these kind of stream of consciousness conversations that are essentially very authentic. And it's the exact opposite of what the corporate media does. You appreciate it. Sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com because you do. This is how we grow and expand this independent media operation. I want to thank everyone who was a part of this conversation. Gary, once again, if people want to find more of your work, if they want to support you, where can they do that?
My hashtag on almost every platform is GG33. You want to find me on YouTube, GG33 Academy. My website is GG33academy.com, GG33classes.com. You know, I was the one who was suspended 18 times on Twitter from 2019 until 2021. I would literally open the account. I would be suspended within 2 hours. And that's all behind this now because Musk owns Twitter. But I got to tell you something. Always fight back. Always fight back. People need to understand that if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. You know, Q was the biggest psyop in the world. They kept telling you, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. They want good people docile.
Yep.
They want good people to do nothing. There was a poet during Stalin's era. They used to go to every town and talk shit about Stalin. And then when the people would start saying rah, 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 those people were arrested in the morning. And then the poet would go to another town and find some new victims. It's a counter-espionage world. And you have to understand one thing. These people are very, very good at making evil look noble. Understand that.
At Liberty Lockpod on X, got 115,000 over there. Thank you guys so much. I just hit that this morning. Liberty Lockdown's the show. You can find me on YouTube and Rumble and Tower Gang as well. But most importantly, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and hit that like button and share it around with your friends. TheBestPoliticalShow.com, and subscribe on the RSS to The Best Political Show.
Steph We Are Change on Instagram, Steph WRC on Twitter.
Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on the